Hi, I'm Jelena. I'm the founder of the Sahlala Dance Company.
And I am Jill Collins. I am the new artistic director of the Sahlala Dancers.
And I'm Fiona. I've been with the company for 17 years.
Really?
Yeah. Jelena, do you want to tell us how the company was started?
Sure. So the company started in 1999. At that time, I was traveling to Egypt and I was gigging a lot in the Los Angeles area at clubs, restaurants, and lots of weddings. I got an offer to do a group show. Somebody called me and asked me that they wanted to have a group show, and I had no group. I had no costumes. I had no choreography, and of course I said yes, absolutely. I booked the show, and then I hung up the phone. It was a phone back then. I hung up the phone, and I thought, all right, who can I hire and what can I do? So I jumped in. I hired one of my advanced students, Stacy, and another professional dancer who was not a belly dancer at the time, Daphne Pena. So she was a Broadway dancer. I thought, oh, well, I know I could teach her some moves and we could figure it out. And that's how the whole thing started. It just started with the request and me saying yes. That's my motto, always say yes and yes to new adventures and challenges. And that's how it started. And we started sewing costumes and we just got busy and put it together.
So there were no auditions for those girls, right?
No,
Okay.
no, it was just the three of us. It was a trio.
Yeah.
One was a belly dancer and one was a Broadway dancer, and then I was like the main, belly dancer and choreographer.
Right.
We put together a nice collective show.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, it was really
And
neat.
so after that, you started auditioning girls. How about Jill's audition? You want to tell us about that, or are you going to tell us, Jill?
Yeah, why don't you share your perspective of how it felt to audition for the company?
Yeah. So I had just moved to Los Angeles. I was a year out of college and had just come here from Pennsylvania. And I was trying to find as many auditions as I could without getting like an agent or a manager. So back then it was Craigslist. That was like the big one. And I had gone on a couple of auditions that were far away. Coming from the East Coast, I didn't realize how spread out everything was. So when I saw Jelena's post on Craigslist, I was like, oh, this is only a few blocks away from my house, sold. So
And I think it's like international, listed a few different styles.
yeah, and belly dance was like the last thing that was on there because I didn't belly dance. I'm classically trained in ballet and modern. So as I'm going down Bollywood, Latin, okay, I can do that, and then belly dance. I was like, I can fake that. All right, I'm gonna go. So I showed up to her studio in a leotard and tights
Yeah, I remember.
with my hair in a bun for belly dance. And by the end of the audition, I had taken the bun down, and like you had asked me to try on a costume to see what I would look like in it, and I fell in love with it. And honestly, I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who you were in the belly dance world. And if I had, I probably would not have auditioned because I would have been too intimidated. Like, I can't work for a superstar of belly dance. Like, I've never taken a belly dance class in my life, And you said you have a lot of natural talent, but you need to work on your belly dance skills. So come take our company class, and as long as you're training, I think it'll work out. And boy, did it ever work out.
Yeah. And I think I just want to touch on that. That's something that I've always done with the company, and I think that's something that you're also carrying on is we look for dancers who have a strong work ethic. And a lot of that, so, knowing that she was like trained in ballet and trained in other styles, there's a lot of commitment of time and work ethic that goes into training in those styles. So when I see that, that's also kind of like one of the checklists. Besides having, some natural talent and ability is work ethic and like an excitement about the work because it's definitely a labor of love. No one's getting rich over here.
Yeah.
So noticing that and noticing your enthusiasm. And also like you were kind of new in town, I figured like this is a moment that we could, help build your tribe. Because when you're new in town, I think you moved from overseas to be here. So coming to a big city, it felt like just the right fit at the right time, and you definitely, stepped into the role and worked really hard and brought up that belly dancing because your other dancing was way up here. Belly dancing was like, beginner, but you slowly put the time in, and that's something I always did. Is when I could see talent in dancers, I knew if they were interested in training in belly dance, I could train them. That's one of my good skills. I'm a good I'm a really good belly dance teacher.
Yeah.
So I pride myself in that, and I knew if I have someone with the work ethic in the background, it's going to be a good match.
And I felt like it was worth the investment to me because, we didn't get paid for rehearsals, and I looked at it as all of this free training. I had never really studied Bollywood, I'd learned choreographies or whatever, but actually had somebody come in and talk to me about the technique and, all the Russian gypsy, having like people that worked in gypsy companies come in and give us, technique and stylization. Same thing with like the Latin numbers. Like I had this whole other world of dance that was opened up to me that I felt that it was worth it. I was like really hungry for it. And
Yeah,
loved that
I
company.
that's something unique about the company is that we've often brought in expert choreographers. So part of the success, I think, of this company is the collaborations. And I've always sought out the best choreographers and dancers and artists to contribute to the content. So I don't choreograph everything. It's not just one style of dance. So we've brought in like Shannon to do Bollywood or Del Mar to do Latin. And of course, Lucia has done like incredible work with us. Very, very specialized stuff like Armenian and Persian and Uzbek style. So having those rich, trained, and really masters in those styles come in with the company is like you said, like how exciting for us because we get to train with these master choreographers, and it's something that has also opened up a lot of opportunities for us because we're one of the only companies in town that is really doing these styles and doing them at like a high level. I think I want to kind of mention that, right? We're not just like faking it in there, right? So there's a difference. There's a difference when you're really hiring in, master teachers.
Yeah, that authenticity for sure.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
And I've been trying to continue that on with the future of the company. I was just in Georgia working with Shoshana Estelle, who's one of the top fusion dancers.
Oh, she's incredible.
Yeah, we choreographed an awesome sword routine together. So that's one thing that I really loved because the collaboration, sparking your interest in other genres. And to me, I feel like that gives our show a lot of depth because when you have different choreographers, you don't have the same aesthetic. So within our show, we open with like a belly dance routine, and then we have like the Armenian and then the Bollywood, and everything looks different because we're working with all of these different creative minds.
Yeah, and we should mention the costume designers because we work with multiple costume designers. So we're bringing in artists to also support the choreographers. So sometimes the choreographers will suggest the costume designer, but like the aesthetic of the show, because we have, like you said, you see this rich variety. So you see a Bollywood or a Latin or flamenco or Armenian, they all look really different. And also that has to do with the visuals of the show, I think is really important. I've invested a lot of money over the years in good costuming. I've always thought it's worth it. It's worth it to me.
And I'm realizing now, having taken over the company, how much the costumes really are. Because when you see the quality of what we've had, I want to continue that same level of quality.
Right.
And I recently worked with Cesar, the Argentinian that lives in Mexico City now. Beautiful costumes, and then also with Larissa, she's kind of been our in-house designer and costumer for many, many years. She just created a whole new look for us.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Larissa's like the OG. If you don't know, she designed my pink snake costume. If you know that video, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, she did that one?
Yes.
I didn't know
that was like the beginning of our love affair.
Wow.
And we just have been working together on so many things. And then she danced in the company for many years, of course. So she's a dancer. She's also an incredible costume designer, and it's been such a joy to work with her on those things.
Because she knows how the body moves,
Right.
so it's not just what the costume looks like, but how the dancer is going to feel wearing the costume, how the costume is going to look on that dancer's particular body. Like,
the other thing is, like, I think the investment, whenever I've invested in good costumes, they last a lot longer.
Yeah.
And that's something to be said. I mean, some of the costumes we've had, they've held up for years.
almost 20
So,
years.
and I've been able to resell them because I've invested in good good fabrics, good quality, and paid top dollar to those designers. So something I'm proud of.
So switching subjects a little bit, can you tell us a little bit why you wanted to let the company go and move on, and why you thought of Jill as a great option to take that opportunity?
Yeah, so my life has just been evolving. The company started in 1999, so it was quite a few years ago.
1 or 2.
1 or 2 years ago. So it's just kind of evolved with everything. You know, my theme has always been evolution, and things are evolving. And you know, when I was performing with the company a lot, I really set in these practices. Like, these are the practices, these are the routines, and this is how the company is run. The scheduling, the payroll, costuming protocols, like setting all that up. That way, when I started to tour a lot with the Belly Dance Superstars, or doing like teaching master workshops, and really started traveling extensively, I just couldn't be there for the commitment. So I knew that all these practices were in place, all these protocols. So when I could walk away, they could continue. So passing on that torch to Jill just felt like the right thing to do. It felt really good because she really stepped up to the plate. She was really excited and had good leadership skills. I just wanted to recognize that your enthusiasm, professionalism, leading by example. I think that's one of the most important things that I've done, that I see you do. So it just felt like the right time to kind of make that transition, that as I'm moving. And then the sort of the final chapter for me with Sahlala was me moving away from Los Angeles. I moved to Hawaii, so I'm living on an island now, and I'm also reducing my travel. My career is shifting a little bit. I'm just really focusing on coaching and directing my productions. So it felt like the right time to kind of make that transition.
Yeah, and I feel like it was the right time in my life as well too. I've been teaching for 20 years, teaching a lot, mostly like in dance studios for, you know, ballet, jazz, tap, that kind of a thing. And after doing it for that long, 2 decades, I just, you kind of get burnt out. And I love teaching, but I wanted to kind of tap into a little bit more of my producing and director, that side, because I'd worked with you for many years in Belly Dance Evolution,
Yes.
and really got to see how to put on a big production, choreographing, working with professional level dancers, and I really loved that, and I wanted to put a little bit more focus into that rather than just teaching at a studio and choreographing for recitals every year. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was just ready for something different, you know.
Evolution.
Yeah, the evolution. And also the business side of things, you know, I'm really enjoying working with clients, and that's something that Fiona did for many years, was talking with our clients and finding out what exactly they envisioned for their event, and being able to kind of tailor their vision to what we could offer for them. And sometimes, like, they just don't understand, you know, they're like, how are you going to do that many costume changes and that many different dance styles? And it's just like,
Trust the process.
yeah, trust us, we got this.
You know, there's something that I wanted to recognize too, is that, you know, all these things that I have been working on for so many years, I've been doing, you know, belly dance for over 30 years, and it also feels really good to kind of, you know, pass on to the next generation of dancers, because I really believe that good ideas can grow when you share them. So I really love how you're taking your own direction. So you also have your own unique ideas and approach to the company, that you're following some things that I did, but you're also taking your own approach. And I think that's really unique and evolving, because the world is changing around us in a lot of ways. Social media is changing around us. So there's so many things that are changing, that you are adapting the company for that. Like you were kind of talking about the clients, and what the clients want and what their needs are have changed since I was on the phone booking, you know, booking those shows. It's really evolved a lot. So I think you have that vision, and you're currently out there in the business. So you're staying very relevant, and I think that's so valuable as a dance company, to be relevant. You know what's happening out there, what the other companies are doing, what you're doing, why is your company unique, and also what do the clients want. That's super important, because it's so unique. We've done like small intimate shows, and we've done huge conventions. I think you guys just did a beauty pageant show for Miss Asia.
Not Massage, it was Punjabi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an incredible experience. And that clientele, they're a little bit more conservative. And
Right.
that's one of the reasons they went with our company is because we are able to, you know, do the whole sexy, glamorous thing, but also when the clients want to be a little bit more covered up, a little bit more conservative, and produce high quality, clean choreographies that can be visually stunning on a stage.
On a stage. That's the big difference. Like working in the wedding circuit and then also being hired to work on a stage when you have to have good choreography. You have to have good costumes, you have to have good staging, you have to have a good eye for production.
Right.
So that's a little bit different than just going to a wedding and, you know.
Or in the nightclub.
Yeah, or in the nightclub. I mean, still that quality reads, and I think that's something that I'm going to go back to the 1999, why I started the company and how I was successful. I never had any advertising. All I had was my business card, and all I had was my product. All I had was like the two of you by my side. Literally, we'd walk in, and I just believed in the show so much. I would often bring in my whole company. If they hired 3 dancers, I would bring in 5 because I just believed in it. People saw it, they liked us, and they hired us. And the one thing that I noticed, the trend, that most of my phone calls were from women. And that was like, okay, the mothers are hiring me, the brides are hiring me, because they knew that I could come in and give a beautiful production and that we could do conservative shows and that we weren't there to just collect tips, that we were there to really do a presentation, do the Zephyr, do that entrance with the bride and groom, and then present an incredible show that people talked about. And then as we left, everybody was like, all the family members were like asking for our cards. And then through that wedding, we ended up doing, you know, the baptism for the kids, and then, you know, the bar mitzvah or whatever, you know, culture we were working with. We often stayed with those family for many years.
I was just going to say that we did a show recently, and they have hired us for the one daughter's graduation, then the birthday, then the other daughter's graduation, then the one daughter's wedding, and now the other daughter's wedding. Like, we have kind of grown with this family and always been there to celebrate with them. And it's true, we have a lot of really good repeat longevity clients.
True. How did you get into Carousel Restaurant? Because that has been...
We have been the original dance company at Carousel since they opened.
Since Carousel Restaurant opened in Glendale?
They opened in Glendale and they opened with us, and that's it. They've never worked with any other dance company.
But how did they find you?
I was working at Middle East Connection, right? So we were gigging there, like I think we had the Wednesday night show, and we were working with the live music. And of course I was well known in the belly dance community, or in sort of, especially Glendale, doing all the weddings and things like that. So Mike, the owner, reached out to me. And it was a little bit touchy because Middle East Connection, they were in Burbank, they were in Glendale. It's not so far away. If you don't know where that is, it's like a 15-minute drive. But I had to kind of negotiate that because Middle East Connection, they wanted me to be exclusive, but I couldn't live off of that. But also at the same time, you have to respect that. There's something about being loyal to a place. Like all the clubs I worked in, I worked there for years consecutively.
Right.
Consecutively. Like I worked at Middle East Connection for at least for the most of the time they were open. When they opened and they remodeled, they used to be a deli.
Yeah.
And that's where I did my first showcase. Was
By the cold cuts.
By the cold cuts. I think there was hummus in there, but you know, I just like reflecting back, it all went back. So I did a showcase there. There was 2 musicians there. Those 2 musicians opened up a nightclub on Sunset Boulevard called Casablanca. And it was like the big nightclub. And they hired me to dance at that night. I had no business dancing there. I was a super young baby belly dancer. But the musicians liked me. That I had a good reputation, and they knew like I could fit the shoes, but I had to study and train.
Yes.
So I mean, that club was bringing in singers like Sabah and Al Kafuri and Raghav Alemi, like super famous singers.
Right.
It was like unbelievable.
The energy and the connection to the music, you had that, and
it's like the musicians. I was always like, they kind of took me into their wing in a way, because you know, I never really dated in the scene. You know, I was, always with my husband, so I never really dated there. I always had a good friendship with the musicians, and there was a trust, and I worked hard.
Yeah.
You know, when I got that gig, I started taking private lessons immediately with Hala Mustafa, and I started taking a lot of training, and you know, anyway, I got kind of off topic of that. But, so having loyalty, then I worked at Biblos for many, many years, and Middle East Connection for many, many years, and I always had a good relationship with them. So negotiating to work at Carousel was kind of tough with Middle East Connection. You know, it was a family-owned business, and I was really close with, you know, the mom and dad and the two adult kids who ran it. So,
but you never worked anywhere else in Glendale,
no.
despite all the offers that came in for other restaurants in Glendale.
So once I committed to Carousel, I was committed and loyal there.
Yes.
There was a couple other clubs and restaurants that wanted to hire us, and I went to the owner and I was like, "How do you feel about this?" And he's like, "To be honest, I'm not that comfortable with it. I want you to be special here, so people come here to see you." And I respected that. And I always think about it the long term. You know, I thought, it's not just about what I'm going to make on this weekend. What am I going to make this month? What am I going to make this year? What am I going to make in 5 years? So the money or the loyalty that I invested with them for 5 years, they returned it to me.
Right.
They kept me.
And the
So
reputation.
I had the reputation, and I had a steady gig that I could count on for myself and my team.
Yeah. Which
So-
was huge as a dancer.
Yeah.
To
To
have
have
that,
steady
that-
work,
every weekend.
That's very motivating to get dancers to come to rehearsal,
It is,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just for the dancers to have that constant experience of the performing, you know, being a concert dancer and then coming into that type of scenario, it really made me sharpen my skills as a performer because the audience is so close to you in the nightclub. So right there, and at first it was really intimidating to like, oh, they're like literally as
Right
close
there,
as we are right now.
Yeah.
Like you're dancing and the audience is right there. But week after week, you know, show after show, you really start to sharpen those performance skills. And I think that's why the standard of Sahlala was always so high because we were constantly performing. Like we used to joke that sometimes the performances were like the rehearsals because we'd learn a choreography that week and like get on stage and do it, you know.
And at some point, we were doing like 4 or 5 gigs a night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'd pile into my car, and we'd do Tetris with all the luggage in my car. I don't know if you remember those days. I was really good at it. Like whenever I load someone's car, everybody step away. And I will put I will put any kind of luggage in any car. Like I configured,
You gotta go fast too.
I can
between
see
the
it.
gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
We would like design the lineup of the show so that one girl wouldn't do the last number, so she could put all the costumes
She
away.
was a team packer. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as we exited the stage, you put your caftan on, and out the door you were.
It was
Intense,
all of it was the choreography, like choreographing it. That the last
Yes.
dancer was not in the drum solo. She went to go get the car out of valet. She packed up the samba headdresses, and it's all the choreography. But that was also, like you said, it kept us performing a lot, and we were really, and still are like one of the most popular dance companies in the Los Angeles area. So being in demand and giving quality.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the one New Year's Eve, we had so many shows, and the clients would hire 5 dancers, so we would do all the shows the same girls. And you let us borrow your SUV so we could all
That's right.
carpool
Yeah.
together.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were like down in Orange County, and then we're up in Encino, and then over to Glendale. and- yeah, you let us borrow.
Oh,
your
that was part of the choreography. That was with the props. Like, you gotta get you in the car. All right, I got the car, you got the thing, and here's this luggage. Yeah, it was definitely part of
And that's one thing that one of the things I really love about Sahlala is that it created that sense of teamwork and camaraderie, and that everybody's in it for the same reason, that, even if you're the soloist or whatever, that nobody is better than everybody else, that we're all at the same level, and it really makes us bond. And to get back to what you were saying, when I first came into the company, I had come out to LA to be with a boy. That didn't work out. But everything was
that's another
there.
episode.
Yeah, right. But everything was like his world, his life. And when I came into Sahlala, I finally was carving out something that was my own here in Los Angeles. And the girls that I started dancing with back in 2007, like, we're still in contact with each other. We've seen each other through weddings and divorces and marriages and
Kids. Yeah.
and so many life changes that it's not. I feel like you're a member for life, regardless of how long you dance with the company. That there's a real sense of sisterhood and camaraderie that I didn't find elsewhere in the dance world.
That's something that has always been a priority for this company. Always is that the ego is out the door. If you want to work in this company, you cannot have an ego, because sometimes, like this week, oh, you're in the front line, Jill, you're doing the lead drum solo, and this week, Fiona, you're doing the lead drum solo, and everybody being comfortable being in that second line. And as a leader, sometimes for the whole group to move forward, you have to take a step back. And that means you can't have an ego to work in that capacity, right? The other beautiful thing about that is in this world where women and girls are often objectified, here's a moment that we get to really work as a team, and we get to support each other's strengths, and we get to lift each other up. And creating that atmosphere is so valuable. And you can see that bond, like you were saying, like we're friends for so many years. And that we've supported each other through the tough and difficult times. And dancers have come and gone in this company, and when they come in and that ego is exposed,
doesn't work out.
The scissors come out, and thank you, it was great to work with you, but we're just not a right match. And I call them the 007s. There's been some great dancers have come through this company. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of dancers who have come through this company over the years. And I call some of them like a 007. They're excellent, they're so good, they're so talented, but they're not meant to be in a group. That's just, they're great on their own, and they're great for solo work, but being in a troupe and having that mentality is about sometimes taking a step back so the whole group can move forward. And I love that you're carrying that tradition on, because that is the real value of that, is supporting each other.
It's been interesting to see now too. I've been hiring more dancers, auditioning girls, and my dancers, or not my dancers, but the girls that have been in the company for a few years, now seeing them step up and helping, teach choreography or give notes, or now I say, hey, can you dance the center spot? And seeing them step into the spotlight, and me taking a step back as one of the, soloist and senior dancers, to now be in that director and teacher mode, and seeing kind of what you saw with me many years ago. It's been a nice evolution.
Well, how did that feel for the both of you? I'm curious, like Fiona, when you went from back line to front line, how did that feel for you? Like you're dancing the front center for the drum solo, for example. How did that feel for you?
Oh gosh, it is nerve-wracking. I mean, I think the hardest thing, the most nerve-wracking, the biggest knot in the stomach, was getting up on the stage at Carousel, because we're there every week. So a performance at a wedding or something, they're new people, they don't really know you. So, and you're a little bit further away. Carousel is the waiters, it's the regular customers. And so they're all, oh, okay, this girl's gonna try this. Okay. And then you're not at the same level anymore. You're up on the stage. So then your shimmies become like, oh, and then in your face, but you smile through it and you do it, and then you get through it. It happens. But
that's interesting. That your perspective is like the scariest part was going up there.
Yes, getting on that higher level, but with people that know you and are looking and are really looking and really know Arabic dance.
True.
Like they know what they're looking for, and so you feel that pressure to deliver the technique and the authenticity. Like it's important. So.
How about you?
You know what? It was nerve-wracking because
here you go, Jill.
Do it.
The first time I did it was because my mom was visiting, and everybody was like, "Be in the front line. Your mom's here. Let her see you." And that was the first time. And it was interesting because I had to make something more of it. I don't want to say I couldn't phone it in, but when you have 4 other girls on stage and you're dancing behind them, you feel like you're just kind of like a support system. But when you were the front line, or in the center, you kind of have to take leadership of the performance. Definitely. And it's a different kind of energy that you have to exude. So that was the biggest challenge for me, was going that feeling of just being like the support of the ensemble to now having to kind of like be the leader.
You get way more tired.
I mean, I'm used to it now, but yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah, I think for me, when I'm up in front, because I'm not always up in the front either,
Right.
people would be surprised. I love being in the back of the line.
Yes.
But being in the front, man, you have to know those
Yes.
steps in choreography. You cannot miss one step.
Mhm.
And so it's
It's
all on your
somebody
shoulders. If you miss one step, everybody behind you starts doubting it, right? So
domino
for me, it's
effect.
that pressure of don't miss a step, don't you miss that step.
Right.
Oh.
And then that makes you miss the step. No?
Yeah, sometimes I get in my head. There was always one choreography that was like this 1/4 count that I just, I would
And you
always write.
practiced it so many times, got it,
Yeah.
and then it's coming up. But if you're in your
And that-
head, then
in
that's
your
not dancing. You're like, Anyway, do you want to both share your favorite performance? What's your favorite performance?
You go first.
Ooh, favorite performance. I really enjoyed doing the Miss Asia pageants because the Asian audience in particular is so receiving of what we're putting on stage that I felt a lot of love from the audience, and they always hire a lot of dancers, and it's always in a beautiful theater, and you would dance with us, and having you on stage with the company just added a different energy, and it was always really, really exciting. The energy was really high, and we've been doing that pageant for years, so I would actually say, yeah, the Miss Asia pageant.
Yeah, and they do a beautiful production. They do
Yeah.
a beautiful production. I probably want to say too, because like I'm going to go way back. It's probably like 2000 when IMED was hiring us, the International Academy of Middle Eastern Dance, and they would do theater shows, and they did one of their shows at the Ford Theater, at the beautiful, incredible outdoor theater, and the troupe performed, and we rehearsed so much. I mean, hardcore rehearsals because the show was being filmed, and now those choreographies are documented.
Yeah. I see that.
And like looking back at those, is like, yeah, you can see how clean the show was. What like the choreography to me is like a little bit like like dated. Is it which it is.
That's right. Yeah.
But the level for who we were at that time, we were like the best we could possibly be at that time. So we were like the A players, and it felt really good to reflect on that. And then, like you said, like the wedding in Texas, that family who keeps hiring us, and we fly out, we do the show, and the production that they have at this wedding. Who has this budget? It's unbelievable. So that raised stage and all the lighting, but also having an audience that is singing along to the music that you're performing to, then having that like authentic experience, and people coming up to me afterwards and speaking Arabic. It's like, I don't speak Arabic, and they're like, what? So just having that experience in the Middle Eastern culture, performing Middle Eastern dance for their community, and then being accepted and appreciated, just feels like a little stamp of approval. So it feels really special to know that our work is bringing value, and that our work and our investment of time, works because we've done the work. So it feels really good to reflect on that.
Also, I think another one of my favorite recent performances was when Sahlala opened for the BDX show. The Wiz Gavaz debut in Los Angeles, and we were at the Colony Theater. And for me, that was a really special performance because though I hadn't taken over the company yet, at that point, I feel like you had really started to step away because your energy was being invested into your other projects. And I think on a subconscious level, we both felt that,
Right.
And so I told the girls as we were rehearsing for that particular show, I was like, this is a really big deal. There's going to be an all belly dance audience primarily. And it was their time to shine, to kind of show this next generation of Sahlala, kind of making our debut. And again, it was being filmed,
Yes.
so it was going to be documented. And I was like, girls, it has to be clean.
Yeah.
We rehearsed very hard for that show as well.
Yeah.
But it was so rewarding.
Yeah, I was proud of you guys. Yeah, it's true. It was probably subconscious that we kind of knew that shift was happening. But you were already leading rehearsals and running the company, so it felt like the perfect transition. That was a special show because that was the debut of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
That was my first BDE experience, and that was incredible. So, what was the hardest cultural dance style for you guys to learn and perform?
I would say the classical Indian dance was very
Same.
challenging because everything was so small and quick, like the quickness in like all of the mudras and then like the eye isolations. I remember practicing in my car at red lights the eyes because we had to perform it that weekend and I was just not used to moving my body in such small, minute, movements. And then maybe even like the Armenian footwork, that was really, really challenging. And learning how to do like the line dances where you're all holding hands and having to hold yourself up and you have to be spot on with that footwork because if you screw up, the girl next to you is like,
True. For me, I agree with those two styles, but I would say the double stick, which I'm so bad at. One stick
Double
is
cane.
hard enough.
Yeah.
Double cane, yeah. One cane is hard enough to, like, when I started to learn, I was like, wait, this doesn't. But then two, I'm just like, yeah, no, that's very difficult.
Takes investment. Oh, for me, I'm gonna say probably, yeah, some of the Indian classical stuff is hard. But I think for me, like Debki and line dancing, because if you miss a step, you're so connected to the person next to you. Like you're smushed up in there, and if you miss a step, you're just like out of the sequence completely.
Yeah.
It's really hard to recover. And with that said, those dances are like a dance of the people. So you're representing a culture and a style. So if you're not really tapping into that, it's not gonna feel and look authentic. So there has to be a lot of like homework done. You have to understand the music and the words and the lyrics and like for me, like doing all these different cultural dances, and we do so many that there's a lot of investment and time that goes in just before you walk into the room and start doing the steps.
Right.
It's a
The
dance.
character, yeah.
The character,
Right.
the dance of those people representing like a culture.
Mhm.
So that is always a challenge. But with that said, I love dancing Debki. There's something like hello, and like you just like you're vibing and you're moving as one, and when it gels, it's like it's on point. It's so powerful. It's so special. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the variety of the international styles that we have, and that's one thing that I'm trying to move forward with the company, is to kind of go a little bit more of like an educational route because we have all of these great dance styles and we do invest a lot of research into the costuming and the history and the musicality. And I want to be able to share that with people that these choreographies that we put together are authentic, that we're not just watching a video on YouTube and copying, like we bring in specific choreographers. And I really want to share that with schools, and we've actually done several events for cultural heritage festivals, like at colleges, and we're invited in to share like all of our Armenian dances. And I think that's really important as we move forward, that it's such a melting pot of cultures that we have that cultural exchange with people.
Yeah, I think that's bringing real value. I think not just to people that you're presenting it to, but for the dance community.
Mm-hmm.
As a dancer, as a young dancer, like how exciting to work in a company like that. What, like you were saying, like to get educated and to train and learn and perform all these styles. So as the dance community gets value out of it too. So don't forget about them, because that is something so unique and special. And there's so much talk about cultural appropriation. That's a big topic these days.
Right.
So tapping into that and knowing that we're hiring dancers who are trained in those styles and who have invested.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that also financially also gets back into that circle, right? So there's our cultural appropriation, like just considering those things, I think is also like a value. It's one of the reasons why when I started this company, if you notice, you look back at those old business cards that said International Dance Company. I didn't put Jelina's Belly Dance Company.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I put Sahlala. I took my name out because I wanted it to be a dance company, pretty much. The Sahlala International Dance Company. The reason why, because there was so much misconceptions about belly dance and sort of that bad reputation or people's misconceived images of it. So part of my journey and part of my passion until now, and I continue with that, is not just to entertain people. We are an entertainment company, but it is also an educational company because we're educating our audience. Hey, this is a beautiful art form. This is to be respected. And going back to what I said earlier, like most of my clients were women. Women were hiring this belly dance company, codename International Dance Company.
Yeah.
So we'd show up, we do, I'll just give you the quick recipe for it, is we'd show up, the first piece we'd do is the oriental, a belly dance piece, but we were covered. We'd have like dresses on, but we do veils, we do a whole méjansé. Then the second piece would be something international, like we do an Armenian or a Persian or a Latin. And then the last piece, typically, some pop song, and then back to a drum solo, back to classic belly dancing. And we'd wear the bedla, the classic belly dance costume. But we had won over the audience through the first couple of songs that when we came out in our belly dance costumes, they knew that we were a professional dance company. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like we won their hearts over, we won their minds over. And at the end of the show, they were asking for our cards and they would hire us for the next family event. So it was something, just like changing the label of it made a huge difference and got me a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Right? So
yeah.
A lot to think about as we move forward.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time to chat with us and just kind of pass the torch in a sense. So weird that life has taken us in these different directions now, and I just want to thank you guys for always being. I'm going to get teared up. Just want to thank you guys for just always being there for me and knowing that you will always be there for me. Like we talked about that sisterhood.
That sisterhood, and good ideas are meant to be shared, and good ideas are meant to be expanded upon. And there you go. You're just going to expand upon something great that we created. It's a we. There's always the we with our dance company. So great to be reconnected, and wish you continued success. I'll be cheering from the sidelines and throwing my likes on your social media.
And answering my late night texts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm always here to be that mentor because those conversations and those situations that come up are going to be challenging.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing. One of the best pieces of advice you actually gave me when we were discussing about me taking over the company was, be prepared to fail. Not overall, but be prepared that you may not make the right choices. And as a director, sometimes you just have to make a decision. Whether that decision in the end is going to be the right one, you're not going to know until you kind of go through, the experience of it. And that honestly gave me the courage to make this choice, to take that leap and just say, yeah, you know what, I'm ready to take this next step, and if I fail, like it's okay, So
failure and success take the same road. Mm-hmm. So without those, we can't really get to the good stuff. You got to get through the muck in the mud to to get to the good stuff. So it's a journey. It's going to be a journey. Can't wait to see the next chapter.